Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chuchu is a Ranker. And on this episode, we are going to be concluding our Albums of the Year lists. That's right, this episode represents the end of the line. After this, I will have covered every year from 1960 until the modern day. So thank you to everybody who has come along on this very long ride with me. And as for 1979, it's another great year stuffed with killer records. So without further ado, let's be complete rankers and rank up a storm. These are my personal top 10 albums of 1979. So we're going to be kicking off this list with Low Budget by the Kinks, which was the band's 18th LP. And after experiencing an upswing in popularity over in the United States, the band here abruptly turned in an American blues rock direction, sliding their sound closer to the Rolling Stones than ever before. Indeed, the rather catchy single, Catch Me Now I'm Falling, even goes so far as to steal the famous guitar riff from Jumping Jack Flash. But still, even a turn into a genre that I'm personally not all that keen on can't stop the Kinks from being their consistently excellent selves, as Low Budget is another extremely catchy and lyrically potent LP of superb material. Highlights include Pressure, 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 I got pressure, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, which has the type of earworm chorus that will still be running through your head as you wheeze your last breath on your deathbed. I Wish I Could Fly Like Superman is awesome with its rhythmic and percussive bass line. Title track Low Budget is a catchy grinding American bar-room rocker with excellent lyrics that acts as an anthem for the poor impoverished souls of the world, which these days seems to be pretty much everyone, what with the food banks and the cost of living crisis. While a little bit of emotion is a lovely emotive ballad about squirreling away your feelings behind the icy cold ramparts of silence. So yeah, this is yet another excellent addition to the Kinks' discography and a great curtain jerker for this list. Coming in next, we have Rust Never Sleeps by Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and this particular LP is notable for being recorded live and for also being split into two distinct halves. The first half houses a set of beautiful acoustic folk tunes that harken back to Neil's Harvest LP, while the second half is full of the type of distorted country rock that defined On the Beach and Tonight's the Night. But both halves carried that same autumnal bittersweet atmosphere that makes Neil's best work so fantastic. Highlights from a consistent release includes the likes of My Hey Hey Out of the Blue and Thrasher, which impress with their lovely acoustic guitars and dovetailing harmonicas. Sail Away is a gorgeous sorrow-tinged ballad with an appealing major chorded melody. Powderfinger has some nice grinding rock guitars, sounding not unlike what Teenage Fan Club would do over a decade later. Sedan Delivery nicely picks up the pace with some stomping rockist energy, while closer Hey Hey My Into the Black echoes the opening song but subverts it with a sinister glower that's pretty strident and badass. So yeah, Rust Never Sleeps represents Neil Young at peak quality. It's a great record and an easy placing on this list.
I was feeling like my day had just begun, where the eagle glides ascending, there's an ancient river bending through the timeless gorge of changes, where sleeplessness awaits.
Next up, we have Drums and Wires by XTC, which was the band's third LP and the flashpoint where the band really started to excel and make genuinely great records. And here we have an album that seems to be taking a leaf out of the Talking Heads playbook, as XTC inject their brand of indie rock with clipped, danceable rhythms and a nervous, idiosyncratic twitchiness. This approach, when linked with Moulding and Partridge's knack for immediate hooky choruses, works like gangbusters and results in a superb and highly entertaining release which, strangely, kind of stands alone in XTC's discography. They never really returned to this style, with their next record, Black Sea, taking the band down a much more jangly route. And that's kind of a shame, but also kind of not, because XTC would do that whole jangle thing incredibly well. But still, a little bit more of what Drums and Wires offers certainly wouldn't have gone amiss. Highlights include the opening Making Plans for Nigel, which is awesome with its weapon grade catchiness and futuristic soundscapes. It's one of XTC's very best tunes. Helicopter bounces all over the place with this delightfully oddball art pop that sounds like the musical equivalent of a loopy cocker spaniel getting ready for walkies. The Scar-kissed When You're Near Me I Have Difficulty is super fun with its ridiculous chorus of "Now I'm feeling like a jellyfish, just a spineless wobbly jellyfish, and it's good, good, so good." Roads Girdle the World has a sinister vibe to it and a bombastic chorus that positively leaps out at you, while the closer, Complicated Game, has an awesome gothic post-punk bent that ends the record like a gnarled dead tree full of woe. So yeah, this is an excellent LP full of jittery nuggets of new wave pop that saw XTC officially enter their golden period. Great stuff. Next up we have Number 1 in Heaven by Sparks, which was the band's 8th LP. And by 1979 Sparks were in a bit of a bad place, with both their critical and commercial standings looking a bit worse for wear. So here we find the eccentric duo taking a surprising left turn, hiring synth god Giorgio Moroder as a producer and leaping headfirst into the world of dancey electronica. And the band smashed an absolute home run, reinvigorating their career in the process. So much so in fact that it actually irks me somewhat. Not via Sparks' success of course, but by how this LP gets forgotten about within the scheme of 1979, with Gary Numan's The Pleasure Principle stealing its spot as the big synthpop record of the year. Which is nuts in my opinion, because Gary Numan's album doesn't have shit on this one. Anyway, what can you do against the riding tide of fashion, eh? Still, this LP is pretty much pitch perfect, with each of its 6 songs delivering the goods. My cherry picks would be Beat the Clock, you gotta beat the clock, which is lots of fun with its steady beats and repetitive nagging catchiness. Tryouts for the Human Race and Academy Award performance shock with their confidence. They sound like Sparks have been making this type of music forever. While the number 1 song in Heaven is a suitably epic closer with some delightfully silly lyrics like "The number 1 song all over heaven, the one that's all the rage up in the clouds. Lyrically weak, but the music's the thing." So yeah, this is a huge return to form for Sparks, and a much underrated record within the history of synthpop. Next up we have Lodger by David Bowie, which was his 13th LP and last of his famed Berlin trilogy. And here Dave largely puts the experimental structures and synthy leanings of Low and Heroes aside, and concentrates on the more direct and commercial side of his songwriting. As such, Lodger is admittedly the least of the Berlin trilogy, but also its most accessible. High spots on a tight yet still eccentric pop record include the opening Fantastic Voyage, which is a slick ballad that casually tosses in resigned allusions to genocide and Armageddon. Yassassin has a set of Middle Eastern riffs running through it, which is always much appreciated and atmospheric, and I'm always a total sucker for that kind of thing. DJ has a fusion of straight up radio pop that calls ahead to what Bowie would do on Let's Dance. African Night Flight amuses with its jumbled rhythms and whiplash vocals, while Boys Keep Swinging is a super catchy slice of sing-along nonsense with some appealingly tongue-in-cheek lyrics such as "Life is just a pop of the cherry when you're a boy. How true, Dave, how true." So yeah, despite not being quite as lofty in achievement as his previous 3 records, Lodger is still charming and a very easy win for David Bowie.
Drive and
So we're going to be kicking off the top 5 with Fear of Music by Talking Heads, which was the band's third LP. And you know the drill here, jittery riffs and clipped beats combining with David Byrne's nervous eccentric vocals, somehow harnessing an impossibly dancey toe-tapping vibe. It's all predictably great stuff. New for this round, however, is the band properly sticking a toe into the pool of gothic post-punk, thus resulting in a significantly darker record than what came before. It's a direction that will be more fully fleshed out on the next release, Remain in Light, but the seeds of darkness are definitely being sown right here on this record. My favourites off this include Mind, which is immediately in there with that scratchy vibe and catchy vocal repetition that defines the band's early sound. Life During Wartime is a great slice of funky skittering pop. Memories Can Wait is the point where things turn dark, with a brooding, desperate post-punk soundscape to dig into. Heaven sees the band playing it straight for a change, with a sweeping ballad that has definite David Bowie overtones clinging to its epic reels. While Animals is super fun, with David Byrne basically screaming unflattering euphemisms about people with wealth and power being similar to hairy animals scratching around and eating nuts and berries. So yeah, this is yet another fun, rhythmic and consistent release from Talking Heads. Highly recommended.
A party, everyone is there, everyone will leave at exactly the same time.
Next up we have A Different Kind of Tension by Buzzcocks, which was the band's third LP and last of their original run. And here we find the pop-leaning punk band aiming for something a bit more ambitious than their previous works. This is an album split into two halves. The first half is all about short, sharp, catchy punk tunes, with the likes of Paradise, Sitting Round at Home, You Know You Can't Help It, and I Don't Know What to Do With My Life bringing a slick, whiplash-fast earwormy appeal with them, while You Say You Don't Love Me is a beautiful, sparkly pop rock ballad with a lovely lilting melody. The second half, however, turns in a deeper, more experimental direction, which is where the ambition really starts to show through. Hollow Inside is great with its chiming arpeggiated riffs and relentlessly grinding bass line that gives the track a toe-tapping edge. Title track, A Different Kind of Tension, has a marching guitar stutter that's wonderfully dynamic and instantly impressive, while I Believe is totally rad with its infectious melody, revving pace and memorable bursts of darkness, as Pete Shelley positively howls, "There is no love in this world anymore." So yeah, this is a really superb, exciting and much underrated album of pristine pop punk and art rock. It's amazing and a must-have inclusion on this list. So, coming in third place and taking home the bronze medal, we have 154 by Wire, which was the band's third LP. And when it comes to Wire, Pink Flag or Chairs Missing are the records that usually hoggle the acclaim. But for my money, it's here on 154 that the band hit their zenith and perfect the journey that they had been taking through their early period. And here the band take the more gothic elements of their previous record and run with them, letting them unfurl over the entire course of the album rather than just limiting them to one side, as on Chairs Missing. And it makes for a really rich and dolorously dark ride, with the atmosphere of gloom ever palpable. High spots on a post-punk classic include the opener, I Should Have Known Better, which kicks the LP off with its discordant guitars and screaming feedback that induces a sense of icy cold darkness perfectly. The 15th is awesome with its gnarled yet melodically sweet indie pop that sounds light years ahead of its time. It sounds like something Pavement would be doing in the early 90s. A Touching Display has a nice gothic rev-up, which is powered by a chilling Ebo riff and an awesome climax which is smothered by howling, desperate guitar lines. A Mutual Friend, meanwhile, has a fantastic sense of dark theatricality, sounding like it was scored to a creepy horror movie. But it's actually shot through with some nice melodic breaks that add a touch of pop into the ethereal gloom. While map reference 41 degrees north, 93 degrees west shakes off the darkness for an unexpected blast of upbeat pop rock that adds a nice vision of variety to the LP. So yeah, in a year where post-punk was just exploding all over the place, Wires 154 stands out as something distinctly special. If you like dark or gothic music, this is just essential listening. Silver medal time, and the silver medal is going to go to Entertainment, which was the debut LP by the punk group Gang of Four. Of course, by this point punk albums were 2 a penny and were oversaturating the market, which is what ultimately led to the death of punk. I mean, one can have too much of a good thing. But while Gang of Four's wiry punk ruckus isn't too far removed from their spiky peers, they are set apart by lyrical content. Here the band present a really fantastic set of lyrics, dealing with societal, political and personal issues that always demand your close attention. Of course, bands like The Jam and The Clash also had really strong lyrics too, but for me there's just something about Gang of Four that elevates them above those acts. Maybe it's that the lyrics are a little less on the nose. They're a little bit more abstract and a touch more thought is required to suss their exact meaning, which is something I like. Or it could be the raw, darker hued compositions that straddle the line nicely between punk and the post-punk. Either way, Gang of Four is a cut above on the punk scale for me personally, at least on this record. Highlights on a pitch-perfect release includes Ether, which kicks the LP off as it means to go on, with lacerating guitar pangs and an utterly dispiriting lyric, basically implying that happy endings are just a myth and that the world is just full of shit. Which isn't far from the truth, but at least we always have Nick Cage movies, fish and chips and Pornhub to fall back on during the dark times. Damaged Goods rocks with its thumping rhythm and icy cold callous lyrics that act as a kiss-off to the girls that never quite managed to capture our hearts. I Found That Essence Rare is a fantastic snarling stuttergun punk tune that takes potshots at politicians, concluding, "The last thing they'll ever do is act in your interest." The track sounds like it probably had a big hand in inspiring acts like Teenage Fanclub and Idlewild. Contact is a catchy skittering tune with some cool jumbled tom action and a rare lyric about suffering from sexual inadequacy, which is something that Chuchu never suffers from. What? What's that? I swear! Well, At Home He's a Tourist is rad with this instant catchiness and lyrics that impressively convey a lot of different themes in only a few words. From bookish nerds trapped in their bedrooms, to the sexual harassment women suffer as new employees, to feeling like an outsider in your own family, to turning to drugs at the disco in order to let all that shit go, it's just a really great lyric. So yeah, I'm just scratching the surface there. This LP simply does not have any downtime. It is phenomenal and a must listen within the context of 1979. So here we are at the top of the mountain, and the 1979 gold medal is going to go to Unknown Pleasures, which was the debut LP by the iconic post-punk outfit Joy Division. And talking of iconic, it doesn't really get much more iconic than this, does it? It's just one of those records like Dark Side of the Moon, The Queen is Dead, OK Computer or Sgt. Pepper. It's utterly ubiquitous and utterly unavoidable, but it's also really, really fucking great. I have this very nostalgic memory of having to travel up north to Sheffield when I was in my early 20s. No offense to any English Northerners, but your towns are fucking grim. Anyway, on the journey I took my CD player and a copy of Unknown Pleasures, and I listened to that record like non-stop for about 7 hours while soaking in Sheffield's shitty bleakness and being petrified that someone was going to stab me up and chaff my rail pass. Despite my cold sweats, that was actually one of my most favourite music-related memories of all time. I absolutely loved every single second of it. Anyway, what we have here is a very sparse and basic sounding post-punk album that plays delightfully with space and minimalism. This results in a really stark sound that is very icy, mechanical and distant, yet is also given humanity by Ian Curtis's fragile but poetic lyrics that manage to convey an introspective tenderness even at their most bleak. Cherry picks from a pristine LP includes Disorder, which immediately pulls the elements of Joy Division together while still sounding relatively upbeat. From Peter Hook's cavorting bass line, to Bernard Sumner's shimmering guitar lines, to Stephen Morris's taut punk drumming, to Ian Curtis's booming baritone vocals, it all slots into place perfectly right from the off. Day of the Lord springs in the darkness to full effect, with Curtis lamenting upon nights of blood, sport and pain, finishing with the iconic howl of "Where will it end?" as Sumner dredges up one of the most influential post-punk guitar riffs of all time out of the abyss. New Dawn Fades is incredible with its steady pace, searing guitar lines and Ian's absolutely gorgeous lyrical poetry that buries under your skin and lives there rent-free forevermore. A chance to watch, admire the distance, still occupied, though you forget. Different colours, different shades, over each mistakes were made. I took the blame. Directionless, so plain to see, a loaded gun won't set you free. She's Lost Control kicks ass with its, pun intended, hooky bassline, machinist percussion and brutalist guitar snarl, while Shadowplay is a slice of post-punk perfection, its raging energy, growling distortion and morose lyrics summoning up a crackling vibe of urbane violence and despair, much like Sheffield. So yeah, this LP is a masterpiece of its genre, and I could reel off every single track as a highlight, but I'll stop there because I know that you know that I know that you've heard Unknown Pleasures and are well aware of exactly how it sounds. What true music fan doesn't, eh? It's simply one of my favourite records of all time, and it is my pick for the best album of 1979. And that's my list, but of course that won't be your list, so why not sound off in the comments and tell me your own top 10 of 1979? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that other kind of YouTube jazz. Feel free to check out this episode's Spotify playlist, link in the description below. Make sure to take care of yourself, but most importantly, just keep on ranking.